Hi, Bernie Kosar here with top dog Hanford Dixon. For 58 minutes and 5 seconds yesterday, I was so excited and looking forward to being here today to be doing the Bernie Kosar podcast with Hanford Dixon, episode number 3. So much anticipated, talking about being 2-0 for the first time since 1993, when the old dog right here was QBing our favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. Yesterday, though, at 1 minute and 55 seconds remaining in yesterday's game, for unfortunately only the second time this century, a team has lost a two-score lead in the final 2 minutes of the game. And it's the first time since 2001, which sadly was our Cleveland Browns against the Chicago Bears. God, we had this awesome Alumni Weekend. We were teed up to take this next step to be 2-0. We had all our alumni in. Friday night, we had an amazing charity golf and alumni golf with our teammates and ex-brothers who we were on the field together. Had a dinner at the great Robert Jackson's with a lot of our ex-teammates and stuff. And Robert his last year was my first year in the NFL, and he helped me so amazingly with my entrance into the league and the rookie not hazing me and my ability to start playing early. And he has a beautiful daughter, Stacy Jackson, who gave great advice to how much she loves the podcast, and that this would be really kind of cooler to do a lot more episodes and segments, Top Dog, of the old days and the way it used to be in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well, today would be a beautiful day to heed that advice with the way the last minute and 55 seconds went. I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that quite today. So we're going to go over a little bit of what happened yesterday, because I can't believe that we're 1-1 right now, Top Dog.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about Alumni Weekend first, but I thought it was just a great weekend. It's just good to get a chance to see all the guys back in town. I mean, just some of the guys. I was expecting to see guys like some of the guys that didn't make it, like a Webster Slaughter, a Frank Minifield, guys like that didn't make it, but we had Eric Metcalf was in town. Kevin Mack, Judge Dick Ambrose, just to name a few of the guys that was here. And Bernie, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it all started Friday. A golf tournament, by the way, that my group won.
Yes.
And I have to.
And I was the official scorer, so I witnessed that the eraser was not used.
Yeah, and I have to say I hit it pretty damn good, if I have to say so myself. But
I don't want to give you too many compliments for the listeners out there, okay? And I don't want to screw up your betting games in the future, but you absolutely have elevated your golf game.
But we played well. That was good on Saturday, and then some of the guys went to practice Saturday morning. And then we had the dinner over at the stadium where we inducted 2 members into the Legends Club, which was, and I want to say congratulations to both of those guys and their families. And then it all ended up yesterday at the game with everybody. And now I'm going to kick it back to you, BK.
Well, before I bring in our awesome producer, Dave Big Play McAllister here, talking about the alumni guys. And, it was awesome, the guys who showed up. It was amazing to see some of our ex-teammates, our friends like that, our brothers that we really fought with on the field. But Hanford, you mentioned some of the other guys who weren't able to come, and not to get into a litany of names and stuff of some of our ex-teammates who, from a physical standpoint, from a health standpoint, and heck, bluntly, from a financial standpoint, aren't able to physically and or financially make it to town and to make it into awesome weekends like this. So we talked about it in the first couple episodes. We're going to absolutely be doing things from a fundraising perspective to make sure that some of the guys that aren't doing well from a health and wellness perspective, we're able to get help to them, because it's really as we get older, something that's really a focal point, even on a sad day today when you have such a rough outcome to a game where even on Steeler week we still should be 2-0 heading into it.
Big play. What do you want? Big play. Come on, big play. What the hell you doing over there?
What's up, Hanford? How we doing, man?
Good, big my man.
So Gab is on assignment today, not with us today. We thought it would be the perfect time, Steelers week, to bring in an old-timer who's actually gone to the games. Gab wasn't alive during these games, so we need the old-timer, big play Kenny Miles, joining the show.
Yeah, guys, as the old timer, hey, we want to hear all those old stories, and we got some great footage from Alumni Weekend. We're working that in over the coming weeks. But as a 62-year-old guy who's had a lot of heartbreaks, and you guys were on the field for some of them, I don't think anything can compare with that meltdown yesterday. Worst loss since we came back in 1999. From the fans' perspective, guys, this is a cutting-edge show. Don't hold it back. What the hell happened out there?
It's time for the opening drive.
Go ahead, B. I'll let you have it first. I'll let you.
I wanna absolutely throw up at the outcome yesterday, and I don't say that to throw digs right off the bat. I don't say that to be cool on the podcast and stuff. For guys who put too much emphasis on wins and losses, proud to say that. That's the type of attitude, that's the type of focus you have to get those type W's. I absolutely believe there's no doubt we should be 2-0. I want to be 2-0, and I absolutely want to go over the ways that what happened yesterday that really crystallized, especially at the end, what transpired to make sure it didn't happen. But it is imperative from a team perspective that the guys remember the Marty Schottenheimer statements that he used to make with us, that the season is a marathon. And as sick as we feel today, the Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2. The Steelers are coming to town at Steeler Week. They're 1-1. And the Ravens blew a game almost as bad as we blew the game yesterday.
Wait, Bernie, we'll get into all that. Yeah. We got to know what happened at the end. Hanford, big dog defense. Tell us what happened.
Well, God damn it, I'm not going to hold back. I mean, when you look at it, it all started right from the beginning with that damn thing they put in the middle of the field. I think that's where all the problems start. We are the dogs. And,
not the elves.
Not the elves. I mean, I look around, that damn thing is in the middle of the field. That is the problem. It jinxed us right off the bat. And then after that, I know everything was going to go downhill, but man, it was just absolutely terrible.
Look at as we have the play up there, and as we're looking at Grant Delpit on that elf right there. Look at as you see both the corner, the Denzel to the top of your screen, and Delpit coming off the elf there. At the snap of the ball to the first probably 10 yards, you have both the guys' eyes looking straight in the backfield. At this stage of the game, understanding where you are in the field, where you are in the game, not wanting guys for sure to get behind you. It's a mortal sin right there. But for my top dog here, my DB, coach me up. Bring me back to earth here.
I'm going to bring you right back on this particular play because it was just horrible. I mean, just absolutely horrible. When you look at it, you got Denzel, you look at him at the top right there, safety. They in what they call a two-deep coverage. Denzel's job right here is to keep an eye on the guy, threaten him, and then also keep an eye on the back coming out in the flat. Now, look at him right there. Now, he's got a linebacker right out there in the flat, so that tells him he's got to get deeper. Not only does he have to get deeper, the safety have to get deeper, but it's going to be really, really hard for the safety to make that play because look where this ball is caught. Look how close this ball is to the sideline when the receiver catches the ball. Okay, that's a long ways for the safety to go, even though, Bernie, the way this thing is designed, the safety have pretty much half of the field in this coverage. But that's a tough play for him to make. So I look at both of these guys. I think they're both wrong in this coverage. You cannot have a play like that, especially when the position that we're in the ball game. You cannot let them get behind you. This is 2 weeks in a row. This is happening. That's a damn problem.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I concur with you. And actually, how we talk about it, we had to look at this play probably 20 times to get the feeling for it. And Dave, if you could run it back one more time, because we've settled on that. We do think it's cover 4 quarters coverage. Josh Johnson down to the bottom of the screen has the X receiver. Grant Delpit on the top of the elf's head right there. should have a double team when the number 2 receiver releases to the flat like he does with the guy there on the 36-yard line there. But to your point, that's a tough run for him to get to the deep corner of the field there. So really Denzel and Delpit have to get their depth at this point in the game.
Hey, Hanford,
cover 4.
what is Delpit doing there? Because he's not moving. What's going through his mind during this play?
Well, first he's got to see if anybody's coming down the seam at him. Okay. Right away, Delpit sees that no one's coming down the scene at him because that particular guy, he's in blocking, and now his half of the field goes to the outside along with Ward.
So his head should turn immediately to the left outside when the tight end blocks, chips, and releases to the right. That immediately should send his head in a true quarters coverage. Now that if we're assuming it's quarters, if that's a quarters coverage, he should have. Now you see his head turn. That should have happened in a true quarters coverage. Well, 5 steps earlier.
You're absolutely right. Now, if he turns and run toward the receiver that's almost to the sideline right there, you could see there's another receiver starting to threaten him, but you look at the other safety, no one's coming behind him, so he's taking care of this other receiver. Look at this guy. There's no one within 10 or 15 yards of this guy after he catches the football going into the end zone. That is crazy. I mean, that is insane.
So, you know what? As Browns fans, here's what we want to know. Joe Woods, why don't we have a third safety out there? Why don't we put a picket fence up? How does a ball get that deep with a minute 58 seconds? 60. It's unexcusable.
Well, you know these guys. I mean, they got 2 defensive backs, coach. I mean, 2 of them. When you look at these guys, I mean, this is the second week this has happened. I guarantee you, everybody's getting on Joe Woods. They're giving him a hard time, but I guarantee he probably wanted to grab one of those defensive back coaches by the throat and say, "What the hell is going on here?" Because obviously these guys, for this to happen twice and pretty much the same coverage twice, I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah, and to as players, we have to take initiative and responsibility on ourselves from that perspective of it.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? We keep hearing, and we're digesting this play, we keep hearing breakdown in communications. We've had that for 3 years, breakdown in communications. Breakdown in communications, the end of the second quarter leads to 14-14 after we dominated that first half. And now we're hearing breakdown. What did we do in the offseason? What did we do in minicamp? What did we do in training camp? What have we done in the preseason?
Here's absolutely one of the things that is an issue with football teams now with restricted time in practice, restricted time in OTAs, training camp, and then actually restricted or shortened, condensed time in the preseason games and stuff. From that perspective, the Cleveland Browns, I love our talent level, defensively, offensively. I mean, we have as much talent as anybody in the league. But we said this on the podcast in the first one. We're the youngest football team in the NFL. We're 25 years of age. It's not making an excuse for it. But when you maybe don't have your football legs underneath you and you're the youngest team in the league, your attention to detail, your discipline, you make mistakes like that, you lose your focus a little bit. And those are the type of things where you know your stuff in the heat of the game, or in the sitting in a meeting room in an air-conditioned room like we are here today. But in the heat of the battle with the chaos going, these younger guys, there may be that communication issue and that maybe not attention to detail and the lack of focus.
Well, and also, BK, I mean, these guys, I mean, it's just totally ridiculous. First of all, they don't play in the preseason. I mean, they don't play. I don't think Denzel Ward or a lot of those guys at any time going into the preseason to play and get ready for the regular season. I think that's a problem because, you know, they worry about them getting hurt, but football is a violent sport. I mean, that's the chance we take when we put on those pads every time we go out there and we play this game. And I don't care how it is. You can't just game-like situations totally different from practice. I mean, you have to play it. You have to be out there. You have to get it done in order to know what's going on, get that speed as the game is going on.
Well, that leads into rookie on rookie. We got a play that we're going to show up here in a minute where Emerson gets smoked by Garrett Wilson. Tell us what happened here, Hanford.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much a technique thing because I guarantee you, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I could fix this guy. What I want you to concentrate on when you see this is watch his legs. When the receiver come on, watch how wide his leg. Boom! He's dead already right there. He's dead because he can't get his hands on the guy. And there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to get his hands on any wide receiver because this guy, he's long, he's tall, and he's also fast with it. But show it to you again. I used to always say it. I used to do a little drill with my feet. I used to bounce, 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 and I never let my feet get outside of my shoulders. And you have to keep your feet right in there. And if you can keep your feet in there, you're not going to turn, and you'll be right in there, and you can get your hands on the guy. And that was the problem down there. And when you're down there in the red zone, you cannot afford to not get a jam on the wide receiver because you know as a quarterback, that fade is deadly down there.
So the fade and the release of the fade, especially against press coverage, and then even more so epitomized in the red zone, in the scoring zone, inside the 5. Unfortunately for us Browns fans, Garrett Wilson does an exceptional job as a rookie to understand what Hanford's talking about Top Dog talking about getting your feet, getting your balance off, and then pressing the hip. You see Garrett Wilson do a step inside, a head shoulder inside, and then his head goes inside to press his hip and to get his feet off balance, to almost make it look multiple times like the slant is coming. He gives Joe Flacco so much beautiful room outside to make just really, from a pro perspective, an easy throw.
I'm going to tell you another key, too. If you can tee that up and show it one more time, I want to take a look at see, one thing I used to always do, too, here, you have to steal as much of the ball as you can. You have to get as close as you can to the wide receiver. As you could see, this receiver is on the line of scrimmage. Okay, if he's on the line of scrimmage, you don't need to back up. You need to get, without being outside, you need to be up on him as much as you can, and that will help you get your jam. You can't just back off of him like a guy's in the slot. Now, I can see it if a guy's in the slot, then you know, he's going to have that little separation with you.
And you have a better chance of having help over the top to where you have that. And I joke, I used to joke a ton with you, Top Dog, and with corners. And I used to use this phrase a lot, that some of the least violent people are the cornerbacks on the football field. That wasn't you. Okay, in press coverage and at the line of scrimmage, it's almost like a backyard dog fight right there, where you have to get your hands on it. And when you're the ex-receiver on the line of scrimmage, that's actually playing into your hands as a physical cornerback to take that initial step away from him and get your hands on it, because you could hold, press, make contact up until those 5 yards. And
if I want to make this key, if I could tell any young cornerbacks out there that are listening to us, that are looking at us, talk about this, one key that I want you to remember: if you're bump and run, first of all, keep your weight down. Don't raise up in the air. Keep your weight down and keep your feet at shoulder width. And if you could do that, I guarantee you'll see where you're able to get the jam. And the next best thing is head position. Because you see a lot of these guys, they panic when the ball is in the air. We have what we call a DB guard, and hope that he's there if you're beat. Don't panic. Just once you're able to touch the receiver, turn around and look for the ball. Because if you turn around before you get to the receiver, can touch the receiver, you're not going to make the play anyway. You know if it's a perfect throw from the quarterback. So don't panic. Keep your feet, keep your weight down, keep your feet shoulder width, and I guarantee you, if you're young cornerbacks out there, that will improve your play.
That's actually awesome advice, not only for young cornerbacks out there, young athletes, young football players for sure at any position. What Hanford said before that, too, in terms of not panicking, but what he said before that in terms of keeping your base, keeping basically your backside underneath you, understanding your balance and stuff. Don't be standing vertical, having a bend in your knees, being on the base of your toes. That gives you that lateral ability and that ability to kind of get your physics and getting your inertia going in the right direction.
You know, so Hanford, and as the old timer here, nobody better at it than you and Frank Minifield. You guys, you should be coaching these defensive backs. And I hope in those meeting rooms today, they're saying you got to touch that receiver, you got to get that jam. But you know what? I'm sorry. Actually, we were talking about this last week on the podcast, and a lot of teams are
a lot of teams are doing this, not getting the jam. And that's how on the slot receiver last week on the 75-yard post to Robbie Anderson, the slot receiver gets a free release up the field, gets on the safety, Josh Johnson, to create a little bit of that indecision.
And I'll say this real quick. I just don't think they're being taught this. Because the reason why I say they're not being taught this because I don't see it. I don't see them, the majority of them, I don't see them doing it. And I think they're actually afraid of the jam because that's why you see a lot of them, especially like you said in that slot, all they do is they turn
trail.
They turn and run. Yeah. They open up. And when you open up, then the receiver has got you in his hip pocket, and he can do whatever he wants to you, and you can't let that. You have to dictate what he's able to do.
That's why, as an old timer, again, I keep saying it, but we got to have you go, Hanford, and talk to these defensive backs, Bernie, you on the offensive side of the ball, because we were the best in the NFL at what we're talking about right now. But now let's flip it over to the offense because we said, hey, Jacoby Brissett, a little shaky last week, but it looked like he managed a great game this week, Bernie.
Well, let me say this. But hold your thought. Let me say this.
22 for 27, 229.
BK, I told you.
43 yards rushing.
I told you I wasn't all in with this guy. I like him. But I'm not all in with him. I mean, you tell me. I mean,
so we are who we are. And I don't mean that. I mean that as a compliment. He's an NFL quarterback. He started a lot of games. He's winning football games. He had a winning performance yesterday. It was drastically improved from a winning performance the week before. Is it optimal? Is it somebody that you want to have week in and week out for the next multiple set of years doing that? He played so good yesterday that I don't even want to overly respond too much negatively to it because offensively, that in terms of player production yesterday, that really wasn't the issue. I love and there's been a lot of talk of game plans, play calling, how do you start Jacoby Brissett and that. Boy, yesterday, the way the game started with Coach Stefanski and doing the running game, but really doing the play action stuff, the tight end, the running back, the flats, the screens, the way to incorporate Harrison Bryant, David Njoku early in the game with, I don't want to say easy throws,
Cooper.
but yeah, Cooper, Amari Cooper with 9 targets, 9 catches, 101 yards. I mean, he showed his dominance in route running yesterday. But to see how Jacoby was handling himself, that really wasn't the issue from that perspective yesterday. One of the things that I really loved about Jacoby in the initial start of the game was him not trying to do too much. And the way he, again, Coach Stefanski and him had those plays going. At the end of the game, there's a lot that could have been probably in, as the Monday morning quarterbacks here, kind of reflecting on that, to see us going up 14 or the chance to go up 14.
What did you see on that interception there at the end? I mean, the pick that he threw trying to bring us back in the glory and win this football game. What did you see on that? Did he just not see the safety coming underneath him?
When you're in those situations and you've got really desperate situations, you have to take some excessive chances with the ball. Is that a throw on first down that he'd be making with 40 seconds to go in the game, 35 seconds to go? I highly doubt it. With less than probably 10 seconds, 11 seconds to go there, you're trying to fit it in there to make that field goal and a significantly easier field goal from that point of view. He actually probably wants to throw that just a split second quicker, but that's really the stuff that happens really at the end of the game with that, in terms of trying to make a play when you put yourself in a situation you shouldn't have been in.
You can say what you want to say. This guy, I'm just not all in with him.
Yeah. The thing that was tough yesterday that's coming out right now is, we're up 7. You're trying to get a first down. The Jets and Joe Flacco give us the ball back with 3rd and 6 with about 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. We get Kareem Hunt on a great screen call. Again, Coach Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, the way they come up with these manipulative, creative personnel groups and screenplays and kind of cheap, easy throws on 3rd and 7 to get that first down. It's a lot to expect, but we get the first down with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Kareem goes out of bounds with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. And then on 2nd and 6, Kareem gets the first down again, goes out of bounds with 2 minutes and 2 seconds to go. Okay, now the clock stops. Nick Chubb on the 12-yard run, he scores, okay, with 1:55 to go. Now, people are saying, boy, Nick Chubb should have known. He should have taken a knee. And in retrospect, today, if the football gods were on top of everything, we wish we would have done that. But to say that Nick Chubb should have known that, that's a big reach.
That's where I'm headed with you because, again, I told you I'm not in with Jacoby, but let me ask you a question. If Bernie Kosar is in the huddle, shouldn't those things, the quarterback, obviously it should come from the sideline, okay, to remind these guys of these different situations and things like that. But since you're in the huddle, if Bernie Kosar is the quarterback, I have a hard time believing that you're not telling these guys and getting these guys pretty much ready for every situation and how to manage the clock, like not run out of bounds and things like that.
Top dog. Okay, this is like we set this up. I had no anticipation of talking about this. I had no real feeling to bring this up. This was not scheduled, not scripted, not even really thought about because it was just so ingrained in me. This is not a shot at quarterbacks today. It's not at all to dump on Jacoby Brissett because I don't really know other than probably Tom Brady right now, maybe, who's really attuned to be able to handle this because myself with my limited athleticism and the way I had to mentally attack the game, yeah, Hanford, there's no doubt. I'd have been all over that. I was a taskmaster in the huddle there. You go over every situation. Marty Schottenheimer, Coach Snellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, Don Shula. I was so ingrained as to how to understand the details of the assignment, how to finish out a game, close somebody out. The coaches had me so ingrained with that was something that you're so right. In today's game, even more so than the old school days, coaches, sidelines, the field, people, somebody else is supposed to inform you of that. But and again, this is not at today's quarterbacks. This is not at Jacoby and stuff. But I just assumed coaches were going to blow it back then. And I had to make sure I knew what the hell I was doing so that crap didn't happen so that you ended up with the W.
Well, just like we said, Hanford's got to be coaching the defensive backs today. Bernie, you should be working with the quarterbacks. As a fan, we don't understand why that's happening. But for as good as those play calls were, and Stefanski as an offensive coordinator doing a good job, a lot of us are questioning, is he the head coach? Should he be the head coach? And if he's going to stay head coach, then head coach and hand the plays off to somebody else because then you manage the game, you know what's going on, and you say to Jacoby Brissett, take the knee, make sure you do it. What do you guys think? Should Stefanski be calling plays?
I love how he's calling plays. I love the system right now. Other than we got to work on our drop back game with it. You see a lot of teams that right now that are struggling at the end of games. And as the offense is getting better and as we're starting to make plays, this may be a time to absolutely start thinking about that because I think the game is getting so fast and the game's getting so sophisticated and we're getting more mature as a team. We still have the youngest team in the league that to have a smart man like that overseeing the big picture stuff. Because I think now you're on your, third year of working with Alex Van Pelt. Yeah. You feel comfortable with him. You got Chad O'Shea, an outstanding wide receiver coach. He's been a coordinator before. Stump Mitchell. And with our running backs, they're doing exceptional. Coach Callahan, offensive line, another awesome shout out to an amazing physical, dominating game yesterday by the O-line. So this may be a time to absolutely consider that. So you have a more macro view of things at the end of games.
Yeah, I think see some guys, head coaches that are calling the offensive plays, they have a hard time giving it up. I mean, they have a hard time giving it up, and I think Stefanski is one of those guys. Obviously, you got Van Pelt, who has the title of offensive coordinator, but we all know him and Stefanski may get in a room and they may get together and collaborate on which plays they're going to run during the ball game, but we all know who's got all the say.
Hey,
and, and that's Stefanski. He's the guy who's pretty much making all the calls and making all the plays. And I agree, it may be a bit much for him at this stage, but right now he just can't give it up.
Well, one of the things is that's a trait amongst all of us. We want to keep calling the plays, and one of the things that maybe is you could think about is I had the reputation. I called a lot of my plays, but I love suggestions. I actually like when somebody else called the plays and we worked in such unison together and such trust that you called the plays, but it really was a suggestion. If I could maybe make a suggestion and stuff that you could still actually be calling the plays, because you and me and Coach Van Pelt, we're working in conjunction together, and this may be somewhat of how it's going too, where Alex is calling the plays, and it's almost a suggestion that you reserve the right as the head coach to always chime in and change it. So you're almost giving a blessing to it.
Override him, yeah.
If there are crucial situations, now you're able to at any time override that decision, and that sometimes gave me the best of both worlds. And that may be something now where I think the staff's been together enough and they feel enough comfortable with each other that may be a way to kind of go to the next level.
But guys, okay, so the head
that
coach,
won't help yesterday, though.
That won't help yesterday.
Won't help
we can't have this keep happening. We can't have this keep happening. We had breakdowns on special teams. Now let's go a few more minutes on this one, because we had a muffed punt. We had a fake punt. How does that even happen? Again, go to coaching. But we got to talk about that onside kick. It's not a successful play, but somehow we call timeout. We put Amari Cooper over there. No shot at Amari Cooper. He had a great game, but I don't know that he's supposed to be on special teams. And it certainly didn't look like he was coached as to what to do, because somebody who's played high school football, you knock the ball out of bounds.
Well, I think he was coached on what to do, but he just didn't want any part of it. We call those guys hands teams. What they do is they grab a bunch of guys and they pretty much you don't see a lot of defensive backs on that team, because
defensive backs. If you guys can catch, you'd be receivers.
We're what they say don't have good hands, but normally you got running backs, wide receivers.
Let the record show you said that. I just concurred.
Guys like that are on that what they call the hands team. But I saw pretty much what you saw and what everybody else saw during that play. I mean, during that play, Amari Cooper when I say he didn't want any part of it, he didn't want any part of it, because you have to be a tough guy to be on the hands team, because those guys are coming at you full speed, throwing their bodies out there, and they are trying to get the ball. And that ball came to Amari Cooper and looked like he just, instead of trying to jump on the ball, I don't know whether he was trying to get out of the way or turn his head or something. But if you don't want to get on it, knock the ball out of bounds. That way we still have it.
Well, Top Dog, we were on a halftime yesterday with Josh Cribbs.
Okay.
And, as a quarterback, I'm probably the least qualified guy to talk about special teams and onside kick play. But Josh Cribbs had said that he had thought, knowing that the kick was going to go to the left, that more guys should have been over there with Amari Cooper as that ball was going there. But you're right, being more physical to get the ball out of bounds at any cost is typically one people that want to do that.
Coaching. That's where head coach, you're not calling offensive plays. You're in those meetings, Bernie. No?
Well, I say, if you say, I understand what Josh is saying, and he is a special teams guru, but I think if you load more guys over there on that side, I think the kicker, if he's a good kicker, he's not going to do it. He's going to run up there and he's going to kick it to the side where he's got the better chance of getting the ball.
It probably is almost like a check with me on offense.
Yeah.
I'm running the ball on these check with me's to where there's less guys out there. And to Hanford, to your point, or to Angry Ken today's point on that The special teams coach for the Jets is a guy named Brant Boyer. Brant Boyer was a teammate of mine with the Miami Dolphins
good.
at the end of my career, beginning of his career. Then became a player and a coach at times here for the Browns when we came back in the early 2000s. He's an
He
exceptional.
coached us yesterday.
He's an exceptional young man, an exceptional football player. He was one of those guys that got drafted, was going to be a training camp guy, got cut and stuff, and was an overachiever, crazy on a special team. His coaching and what he did with his team, whether it's the fake punt, the onside kick, that was top, unfortunately for us Browns fans, top tier yesterday.
Hey, I know we're talking about the onside kick, but what about K. York, guys? I mean, come
man,
on.
as a
he
Browns-
goes from the penthouse.
Guys,
I mean, he's a rock star, and then because if you look at it, the score actually would have been 31-31, but he just
Hanford, as a fan, when we miss an extra point as a Browns fan, you just know it's going to come back to haunt you.
It's amazing whether it's at the end of the game like that or the beginning, the ramifications. And with that as a Browns fan, and not to be the temple of negativism, as a guy who's massively wants to be positive in this fourth quarter of my life, but to see even though we should have probably taken a knee and not got into the end zone, still to have got the end zone, to be up 13 with a minute 55 to go, Cade York coming in, the formality of the extra point to be up 14 as we're all getting ready to put the W in the win column, to see that materialize like that, part of me said, heck, that's a bad sign, but this may be the one time an extra point doesn't cost
No,
us.
Bernie,
Wrong.
as a fan,
Wrong.
I knew it. So now it's a short week. It's Steelers week. Before we get to the Steelers, guys, fans want to know, what's the locker room like today? What are the coaches saying? How do we put this out of our minds and move forward?
Oh, this one for me. This is Steeler week, and as disgusted as I am as a fan, as an ex-player, I'm even more disgusted to wake up this morning or to go to bed last night as a player and coach, knowing I let one get away, knowing I was going to be 2-0 and leading the division, leading the conference, best record in the NFL. So that absolutely has me sick. I know, though, today, when you wake up, and again, we're the youngest team in the league, so I'm assuming we were more of a veteran team. And we understood and we kind of policed ourselves with this. But it's imperative to understand today that we have Thursday night football. It's Steeler week. We got a nationally televised game. The Steelers lost their home opener yesterday. They're 1-1. They're not singing roses in Steeler land today, talking about what's going on with them offensively. I love Joe Burrow, but the Cincinnati Bengals can't protect him. He's 0-2 right now. So really the season is magnified with this game because of what happened at the end. But players today, they got to be super focused. The 24-hour rule doesn't apply to a loss with a Thursday night game coming.
Well, when I look at our football team, and I question whether or not we're as good, or if they think they are, or if we think they are, because I knew this Jets football team was a good football team. I knew it was a good football team going in. I mean, they had a great set of guys up front where they rotate them 4 in at a time.
Yeah, we talked about that. They had a really nice job. They kept their guys fresh, their D-line fresh yesterday.
They keep those guys fresh. When you look at them on offense, I think they did more on offense to stop themselves than what we did to stop them, because they had a lot of penalties. They had a lot of drop passes, and I think that really, really hurt them. So
unfortunately, schematically, they had a nice scheme yesterday. Coach LaFleur had a nice game.
And they're a decent football team. But getting to this week, this is a short week. I agree with you. This is a short week, and you're right. I mean, we just have to forget this thing. This one is gone. We lost it. It's gone because the Steelers are coming in here, and I'm telling you, they got a nasty attitude because they lost just like we lost. I think the fortunate thing is we have them at home, and we don't have to travel. So that's a good thing.
That's
'Cause
imperatively
it's tough trying to travel on a short week.
Yeah, that's imperatively important on these Thursday night games is when you have the home game with, and you know, and as we're saying this, it keeps kicking in my head the words of our awesome head coach Marty Schottenheimer. He used to say the season is a marathon, not a sprint. So to not get overly fixated on things early in the year, but he also said that you really, really need to put things in a rearview mirror. Even to the point where if you make a bad play, if they beat you for a touchdown, which they didn't do that much, or you throw a pick, that you got to put that behind you, not dwell on it, and move on to the next play. Easier said than done with the youngest team in the NFL. Same principle with this game yesterday. You got to put that. You got to learn from that last minute 55, but you got to put it behind us and solely focus on the task at hand.
All right. I get it. Youngest team in the league. I'm one of the oldest fans in the league, and a lot of us out there, we don't have that many games left. We can't give them away. But as those fans were booing as they were leaving the stadium yesterday, we'll put it out of our minds and get ready for Steelers week. The vaunted rival Steelers are coming to town. So now we got to turn our attention to them, and I'm going to take you guys back to the old days against the Steelers, because I'm going to tell you, as a guy that was in the stands, you don't come into our house and take it. In fact, there was
the
fights
dog pound.
Guys,
you don't come into the dog pound.
I don't know if you knew what it was like in the stands, but we would fight in bloody noses, and playing at old Cleveland Municipal Stadium was not easy. What was it like for you guys with Steelers week?
Hey, for you, angry Ken, to be saying that I didn't know what it was like to be as the fan in there, as a little boy growing up in Youngstown, to have been able to go to Cleveland Municipal Stadium as a junior high school guy and see the fights that Ken's talking about with the fans there, whether it's in the old Three Rivers or Municipal Stadium. It was, and for the fans out there, I'm not amplifying this. We're not saying to be doing this, okay? Because that was old school days. Do as we say, not as we did. But man, to go to the bathroom in the old Municipal Stadium, if you had a Steeler jersey on,
it was a chore.
That was a chore. So please, let's not accost people like that. Let's keep it on the field of play. And on the field of play, there's been some historically physical things. Whether you go back to,
well, that takes us in, Bernie. That's our segment. Big plays. Let's go back.
Boy, I love
baseball field, mud. All
Well, we're going to ask you about that. A lot of young fans.
Oh, here we go.
Young fans look at that beautiful stadium with that horrible elf. It should be a dog, Hanford. We're 100% with you. But for when we go to that old stadium, for half the season, the baseball diamond was for the first 30 yards, guys. And you had a muddy field. What was it like playing on an infield dirt for 30 yards?
Oh,
Bernie?
I gotta tell you, seeing that beautiful picture there brings back the goosebumps right there for me. Okay, as a guy who liked to wet the field a little bit, keep it soggy the day before the game, even if it didn't rain, okay, and to get that infield wet. Athletes, fast guys. I ran a 5.5 40. Okay, I was slow on fast surfaces or slow surfaces. So to have that
I
money,
thought you ran a 4.5.
Oh yeah, for about 25 yards. Only problem was I had 15 more to go. But to have that field muddy like that, to have that, because it really is a landfill there. So it used to flood all the time in the locker room. It used to be so soupy and wet out there. It slowed the fast guys down. So I was always the same constant speed. So the athletes came down to my speed with it. And I guess this is to be funny, but actually factual. When you had the infill like that, it was so easy to draw up plays and draw plays in the dirt and go over coverages.
Yeah.
To what the teams are doing because we didn't have iPads, laptops.
Hanford, you
things
drew
like
up plays in
that.
the dirt. We
We
know
did.
Bernie did, but you and Frank Minifield
Let me
did.
tell you something. We did, and guys, I used to love this thing because to come out of that old dugout, where the
first orange helmet hits, man. That first orange helmet hits.
Just come from under that dugout and come into that old stadium, and then you just take a look around, and you got the banners that are absolutely hanging everywhere. Because back then you could bring your own banners in. And man, the people are just going crazy. You talk about that dirt. I used to just love that dirt because
Can't get you all choked up.
But
They're
listen,
swallowing some of that dirt.
I'm about to get choked. But I used to love that dirt
Yeah, I get
because
choked up on that.
when you're up there on those wide receivers, their move, they're trying to get their move, and you could get that jam on them real quick, especially if you got them right there where that little dirt part of the field. But obviously, a lot of young people don't know. But that used to be that's where the Indians. I mean, the Cardinals now play their game.
They're Indians. They're Indians. I'm old angry Indian fan.
Right now it's the Guardians, don't you?
No, I'm old angry Indians fan too. But you know what? It's Steelers. When you're talking Steelers and you're in the stands and you got the smell of cigars and you're just waiting, and we're hanging on every play. And Hanford, we got one play that we're going to show right here, big dog. It was a great play. In fact, Joe Willie Namath was on the call, and he talks about this. Walk us through this. I think you tipped the ball to Chris Rockins.
Yeah, Chris Rockins. Watch this. He's trying to come across the middle, and he thinks he's open right there. I think that's Stallworth, the All-Pro Hall of Fame wide receiver, and he thought he was going to get one on the top dog.
Are you talking trash there? Are you talking trash there?
I'm not going to go for that. Just watch the top dog. Right when he think he's got this ball caught, here I am coming in there with that hand, tipping it up, and there's my boy Chris Rockins, number 37, right in the right place at the right time. And we needed a big play.
Yeah, and hey, I'm not saying this to stroke you there, top dog, but that's a cover one coverage, man coverage with a safety in the middle of the field. So for you young cornerbacks out there and for you young quarterbacks out there, cover one with the safety in the middle of the field with the lurker in there like Rock was doing there. The cornerback has outside technique, and he knows he has help to the inside. So as a quarterback there, typically I would think that my receiver, the great Hall of Famer, John Stallworth, should be able to beat you with an inside move.
Yeah.
It actually shows your awesomeness to be able to actually cover him to the outside, knowing you have help inside, and yet still use your quickness to get underneath him, make that play. Because Mark Malone probably thinks that's a completion when he lets it go.
If he wouldn't have got it too, Ray Ellis would have got it.
Well, you know what, Hanford?
Big dog, here we
that's
go.
not all we
Here
got.
we go, big dog. Tell him.
No, wait. Oh, hey, Clay
there you go,
Matthews
big dog.
to Hanford.
Yeah.
Look at the
Look
towel.
at a high step.
Hanford, look at the towel.
He wasn't down. He wasn't down. Hey, that towel will get longer and longer and longer, dog.
Where is that towel?
Look at it. Oh, man. Is that Eddie Johnson? Give me a high
That's
five
85,
right
giving
there.
it Eddie Johnson, captain.
Well,
As we're showing that play again, I'm looking at Mark Malone, and I don't know if this is the 86 or 87
It's
game.
87.
Okay, but in those two games, we talk about the infield being there. This was earlier in the year in 87 when the infield was there. Later, sometimes when the quarterback would get knocked in the ground like that, we'd actually, because there were concerts the night before, and you get pulling that dirt out of there. In one of the Steeler games, you pulled a lot of things out of your face mask.
Well, they were still left over in the stands, too. Let's show that play one more time because, Hanford, there were some old-timers back then that are saying, look at Hanford carrying the ball.
Hey, big
Watch
dog.
how he's holding the ball.
I turned into a running back on this play.
Hanford,
Watch
you're
this.
holding the ball like Brownie the Elf at half.
No.
Look at him. Look at him. High-stepping, too.
Dog,
High-stepping,
throw
too.
it away, dog. Throw it away. Go to him.
Look at the fans. Look at the fans. I think we intercepted Malone 6 times that game. 6 times that game. But now let's go back to 1986. This is where Browns Steelers and Bernie take this away. This is that pass to Ozzie Newsome that really set us up.
Wow, this is great memories. Actually, I'm sidetracking to my last statement. In this 86 game, this is later in the year, and late November, actually the week of my birthday. So some of those signs, I remember seeing Happy Birthday Bernie signs there.
Wizard
But
of Oz.
the night before, Friday night or Saturday night before this game, there was a Pink Floyd concert. So as we're getting jammed into the dirt and stuff, there'd be little roaches and joints left over from the party favors from the night before. Fortunately, it didn't affect me because I was able to come up with these type of plays in the game. And as I'm looking at that, God, the goosebumps get going.
Was that a blitz?
That was back in the old days where you had a bear defense, where you had 8 guys at the line of scrimmage. It's a run formation that I'm out there. I'm trying to trick them that I'm running. They load up the box with extra linemen and the safety. The Steelers, I noticed during that preparation of the week, anytime they put 2 linebackers over Ozzie Newsome and 1 outside, it always was a man blitz.
Hey, did you guys hear Bertie? Did you guys catch that?
What's that?
He said he was trying to trick him that he was running. Now, did you mean we were going to run a run play, or were you going to run it?
Well, that would really trick them. They wouldn't believe that I was going to run it. But getting in
That's my point. So you was trying to trick him.
Bertie could tell him to play. They couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop Bertie. Tell him, Bertie, you tell him to play,
So
and you do it.
these were the games where you really tee it up, and you would tell them the plays and stuff. So that because they never believed you, so you're able to kind of play that mental chess match. But they had Ozzie double teamed here, and I noticed this late in the week that anytime Ozzie pretended to block, getting his pass set like he does, he stands up real quick. The guy over him blitzes. So if we delay, just like Coach Stefanski had a couple tight end delay screens yesterday, if we delay that versus a blitz, Oz is going to be completely unblocked. Yeah. So we get a cheapy play on that audible there for a touchdown. I talked Lindy into putting that in, me and Gary Danielson, on a Saturday morning. And for young quarterbacks, I don't like putting audibles in and plays in at the last second and not really practicing them then. But we put that in like that for a special play to take advantage of a mistake in their coverage.
Well, Bernie, we know you were really the offensive coordinator, and you were changing plays in the huddle, and we love that. But that game was nip and tuck, back and forth, and take us through the ending. This is that Webster Slaughter catch. Did you call this play?
So actually, that's the exact same formation and the exact same defense.
And we win right there.
That's the exact same formation, the exact same defense. And as you saw from the beginning of the play, you saw 53 and 57, one on Ozzie, one outside of Ozzie. So being the greedy quarterback, I put, this play in. God, look at how that's just like yesterday. So I put that in like that. I go to the exact same play that we just saw in the previous play. I'm going to hit Ozzie Newsome again in overtime to close out the game, and I'm doing the exact same play. And I also believe you could run multiple plays that are good multiple times in a game. But the Steelers were really smart too. Hardy Nickerson, Brian Hinkle were their cornerbacks. The great Rod Woodson was there. So they had picked up that I had audibled again. They knew that I was trying to get him and trick him again to Ozzie. So at the last second, I knew that they had figured out my audible. So I did it. I didn't have time to change the audible. So back then, I'm able to talk to my receivers without using words. So Webster Slaughter had a cornerback on him who I didn't know his name and I didn't know his number. So if I didn't know his name, that meant for sure I should throw on his ass. So it was kind of my insurance policy to give Webb a fade, give him a takeoff. Because when all else fails, throw it deep in these games.
That's what I was going to ask. Was that a fade or was that a double move over there?
Webb was so
looked like you faked him.
It was almost like the intentional grounding that we got away with Jacoby at the end of the Carolina game. I was gonna throw it to Ozzie, so the fake was only that they got me, and I was trying to throw to Ozzie, but they had covered it, and they were trying to bait me into throwing one of those plays where they cut.
We were so excited.
I
want you to play that one more time, but play it all the way to the end. We were so excited. Watch this now. The offense is on the field. and we'll watch all of a sudden how number 29 make his way over there. Watch this.
We loved it.
Yeah,
we
at
loved
the
it.
end over there, BK. You know, we're so excited. You think you guys were excited?
Well, that's not you,
Oh
Hanford.
no, you'll see it in a
Reggie
minute.
Langhorne.
29 is coming. It's
There
there.
he is.
I love it.
But we were so happy.
Good old days. The fans were screaming, were yelling. Those were the good old days. That's what this segment is about. And now we got to go this Thursday play the Steelers. Let me ask you, do the players know the rivalry? Do you think that – I know you guys knew. Do the players know how much this means to the fans? Guys?
I think definitely. I think they have to. I think there's someone in that building that know how important this game. I think number one, it's a division game. Both teams are in the AFC North. Very, very important team. But guys, I mean, you know how when we played BK, when we played against those Steelers, I mean, it was all odds.
I live and die for this game.
A team that's what I
I
was
live
going
and
to say.
die. I grew up in Youngstown. There was no more important game than this. Okay, and I was the guy that only mattered was getting to the playoffs and giving yourself a chance to win the Super Bowl. And I say that, and I'm being hypocritical because my father, I grew up, my dad said, if you lose every game, it doesn't matter as long as you win the 2 Steeler games. And growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, this game mattered. And I did not see us win enough of these games as a young boy. And when I got the opportunity to play here and then to be able to get them not in the playoffs, to see them not playing in January, the thought of them that they're going to be watching me after all those Decembers and Januaries where I watched them play, I lived for this game. I still do.
I'm gonna tell you a quick story, and talking about how important this game was. You know, and I never forget. I was a rookie, and I remember the guys talking about, "Hey man, we're getting ready to play the Steelers. This is a big game. This game is like no other game." So I knew it was a big game. We were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I came the year. I played 1 year with Brian Sipe. Brian Sipe was the quarterback. I came in, and I never will forget this. Our offense was on the field. Steelers defense. Brian Sipe ran over toward the quarterback, and Jack Lambert was the linebacker. Jack Lambert hit Brian Sipe. I'm telling you, I think as hard as I've ever seen anyone get hit. And the antennas went up on me right then and there. I said, "Hey, whoa, this is for real, man."
Yeah, that's for young kids out there. This is not the appropriate statement, but this is how we thought. It was kill or be killed out there.
Yeah. Very, very important.
You know, and I told this story. I was at a buddy of mine, the great Bill Cosgrove, at his 60th birthday party a couple weeks ago outside of Pittsburgh, and I had quite a few Steeler fans come up to me, and I told this story where growing up in Youngstown, people come up and say, "God, you got to hate me. I'm a Steeler fan, and you're a great Browns fan." And unfortunately, maybe when I was younger, that statement may have been a little bit truer. But as I get into the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life, I want to be more therapeutic and a healer and more thankful and blessed for all the great things I've been given. And so I say to people, "No, I don't hate you at all. You're awesome Steelers. You know, you've got 6 Super Bowls. You've won a Super Bowl ring in every generation. I wish I had my Super Bowl ring on today. But, you know, you got 6 rings and stuff. So you've won in every generation. Except the 9 years I kicked your ass."
That's right.
You know?
Well, it's all
I love it.
Well, it's all got to change now. Again, short week, come back, and that's going to take us into a segment that we're going to be having on the show moving forward. I think the fans that are in Ohio know sports betting is starting this year in January, but everybody's talking about it now. In fact, yesterday after the game, as down as I was, I had to pick up a pizza over at Master Pizza in Mayfield Heights. Shout out Master Pizza. And talking to some of the people in the parking lot.
We saw him at the game yesterday.
I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah, that pepperoni and sausage.
Oh,
No, he's
What
on
kind did you get?
No, he's on the
Pepperoni double.
vegetarian.
Oh, Bernie likes that.
He's got the vegetarian vegan going out for us
get me-
juicers.
get me hungry,
More to
guys.
come on that.
Get me hungry, guys. Get me hungry.
But it's funny you mentioned that. Big Head, I was just talking to him yesterday.
In the
love our
cardiac
Master
club.
Yeah, in the cardiac
Yeah.
club. Yeah.
All right. So sports betting's coming to town. We're going to do a segment every week, and it's going to get bigger and better, and we're going to bring in some prognosticators. But we're going to give our thoughts on each one of the games in our division We'll do a review that'll give us fans a chance to get your feelings and then your prediction on what's going to happen. So we're going to start with Steelers-Browns. Steelers coming off a tough loss to the Patriots, 17-14. The fans in Pittsburgh are mighty upset, yelling for Trubisky's head. This might be the time we see Kenny Pickens come in. But here we go. Browns are favored by 3.5. The over-under's 40.5. Guys, who do the fans take on the Browns getting 3.5?
Hey, so one of the things on Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky from Cleveland, Mentor High School. I used to go watch him play in high school. Love how he played. One of the things that you have on a short week, making a quarterback change on a short week is massively challenging. How this game goes for the Steelers on Thursday with 10 days off in between games may happen and transpire after this game. But from our Browns perspective, this is probably a all-in game for Mitchell Trubisky from Mentor and stuff. From the point perspective, I was talking about this at the end of last week. We probably should have done this segment last week because one of the things that I kind of love early in the year as a guy who likes to score points and stuff is it was even true when I played and we did preseason. We did the preseason games. We came in a little more suited, a little more game ready for games 1, 2, and 3. But and even then it was hard to score points early in those first games. So unders tended to be good in the first week or so. But as we started getting better and getting attuned to it, and then getting defensive coverages on film and being able to break down what coverages do early in the year, the overs tended to be something in those weeks 2, 3, and 4 where offenses are starting to catch up. So I like kind of how teams are able to score points now. So I tend to be when you see those 40 numbers, you see those 40 numbers, I try to look overs.
All right, so 40.5. Bernie's saying take the over. Hanford?
I'm going to take the under. I just I look at these two offensive football teams, and I don't see them scoring a lot of points. So I'm going to take the under.
All right, Browns are given 3.5.
I'm going to pick the Steelers. I'm going to pick the Steelers as far as that 3.
Browns win. Browns win, but we win by 2.
Right. And they're going to win by 3.5, though. But
all right, Bernie, what do you take there?
I want to decipher this as the week goes on, but right now I feel like I want to be picking the Browns right now. I want to get right with this game, but with Mitchell Trubisky coming back into town and his career / the rest of his season somewhat being on the line right now, you don't typically make a quarterback change after a win. So this is something where Mitchell Trubisky, I really believe this is going to be something he's ready to play for.
All right, as angry Browns fan, I'm taking the over, and Browns win. Browns win. Steelers week. All right, we got the Bengals at the Jets. Now, the Bengals, 2 weeks in a row, they're 0-2 in the division, 2-week heartbreaker field goals to end the game. Cowboys beat them yesterday, 2017. And the Jets going in. Joe Namath, Flacco, I don't know what he was. We made him look like Joe Namath, but Bengals are 4.5 favorites, the over-under 43.5. Hanford, let's start with you.
I'm going to go with the over with the 43.5.
43.5.
I think Flacco is starting to play a little bit better, and I think Burrows is, even though he threw a couple picks. And,
6 sacks yesterday, offensive line problems.
They can score. They got Chase and company. I think those guys can put some points on the board. So I'm going to pick the over as far as that's concerned. And where
4.5. They're giving 4.5 to the Jets.
Ooh, I'm going to go with the Jets. I'm going to go with the Jets. Jets got a good football team. I don't care, and I think they're going to get better and better. I believe in them. I believe in their head coach, and I think they're a well-coached football team.
I think they're a better team than we think. Bernie?
I think so.
Yeah, the Jets are a better team than we think. You know, unfortunately, Joe Flacco is 18-3 against the Browns. Just like Joe Burrow's offensive line is really letting him down. Really thought the Jets' offensive line was going to let Joe Flacco down against our Browns yesterday. Our pass rush didn't get to him like we had thought like that. That being said, I do like the overs in this game, but because Joe Burrow and Cincy is almost in a desperate situation. They don't want to go 0-3. So for them to try to get right against this team, it's a tough challenge to get right on the road. But I still like the over and the Bengals. The Bengals, although I think they're going to win, it's probably I think it's going to be a close game too with the Jets.
All right, as an angry fan, I'm going to go with the over, and I think I'm going to take the Bengals going to cover. I think they're desperate. They got a good team. Maybe a little bit of Super Bowl hangover, but I think they get it right this week against the Jets. That takes us to our final game, Ravens against the Patriots. Ravens, heartbreak yesterday, 21 points in the fourth quarter, and Tua looks like a Hall of Famer, throws 6 TDs, 3 in the fourth. Dolphins win at 42-38. The Ravens are 3 points favorite. Over under 43. Bernie, who do you have?
You know, yesterday is as disgusting as we feel as Browns fans today. The Ravens are right up there with us. So again, I like the overs. One of the things with the Bill Belichick type teams, he likes to take away what you do really good. So, but the one thing that is tough sometimes for them to stop is those big physical teams that run right at you. Yeah. And the Ravens do a good job of being physical and coming at you. So as much as my Bill Belichick has been scarred and the Patriots, I like what they're doing. And I think the Ravens, as much as I want to see them lose, I like the Ravens rebounding.
So you take the Ravens giving 3?
Yes.
Okay, over under 43.
Over.
Hanford.
I'm going to go with the over, too, because the Ravens are going to score. I mean, they're going to score, and with Lamar and that offense, man, they're getting better and better and better. Their problem is on defense. Obviously, they got rid of Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator, and Harbaugh went and hired his brother, defensive coordinator from the University of Michigan, and they are just having problems on that defense. But saying all that, I still think you talk about get right. I think they will get right. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens.
Well, we're also, as much as we're Browns fans, too, we're Ozzie Newsome disciples, too. We love Wiz.
I love Ozzie, but I can never root for the Ravens. That's the old Browns. That's a story.
Hey, are we rooting or using financial wherewithal here?
I root. So you can't let that.
I let it cloud me. I let it cloud me. Patriots got a running game. Patriots all day long, and I'm going to take the under at 43. So
wow,
we're going to have a lot. Well, I think I think Belichick's going to try and slow this game down. He doesn't want the ball in the offense of the Ravens, and Ravens got defensive problems.
Well, can you tell me who's calling the plays over there?
I don't know. Is it a defensive coordinator calling plays? Patriarch? What?
But we do know probably what we talked about there of if Bill's not calling the plays in New England, he does have the right of final say. So if he's got somebody giving suggestions and stuff, almost like we're talking about possibly with Coach Stefanski, there's a way to kind of do a hybrid that sometimes works out, but and other times doesn't.
Well, you know what? As much as we might say what we want to say about Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches, and he knows how to run a last 2 minutes. You don't see him blowing it with time mismanagement. But all right, guys, great show. It's Pittsburgh week. I want to remind everybody that if you want to catch the Bernie Kosar show with Hanford Dixon, you could catch it on the Big Play Network. Find that on Twitter. Find it on YouTube, website, TikTok, all the different social media platforms. And now let's get the final words. It's the 2-minute warning and one more tease. After the 2-minute warning, we're going to have overtime where we're going to diagram a few plays. Stay tuned for that. 2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Unlike yesterday, we're going to stay on our game for that. I'm fired up. It's Steeler week. As much as I want to be 2-0, it's 1-1 after a tragic loss yesterday. But Steeler week, first game within the division. It's a chance to put the nail in probably the Steelers' coffin in terms of setting the tempo, getting this taste out of our mouth, and to let that game go away yesterday. And then to not come up with a W this upcoming Thursday would make for a torturously long 10-day stretch before we have our next game. So it's imperative that we get our focus and get our mind right for this game on Thursday
Well,
night.
you keep talking about get right, and I agree with you. That's what we have to do with this game. We have to get right. The good thing about it, everyone in the division lost. Everyone in the division lost. So we didn't really lose any ground. So we cannot afford to let these Steelers come in, a team in our division come in our house, in our backyard, and beat us. So we have to forget that one. It's gone. Hey, let's get this thing. I hope this kid you're talking about, Jacoby Brissett, is everything that you say he is. I hope he can carry us for these next 10 games.
I got to get I got to get to what you said about coming into our house. Yesterday, the Jets came into our house. We did not close our door at the right time to get them out of our house. It's imperative that you establish your will and you establish a culture where anybody who comes to Cleveland, Ohio, knows that coming into our house is going to be met with a complete annihilation of the game. And to let games slip away like this past week, and then to not take advantage of a nationally televised game against our number one rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's sinful. So this is a tempo-setting, culture-setting game for early in the year.
Good show, dog.
I'm loving it, man.
Oh, man. Let's get rid of that thing in the middle of the field, though. All right?
It's been a top dog out there, man. You matter. Go Browns.
All right, welcome to overtime of the Bernie Kosar with Hanford Dixon show with Bernie Kosar. Bernie, show the Super Bowl ring for all our fans out there.
We're going to show in a little telestrator segment here in this overtime here. Maybe the Super Ring will come into display.
All right, so a lot of fans know that Bernie's known for his play ability, and he can break down plays and diagnose plays. And why you're not on the offensive meetings today for the Browns, I don't know. That's a story for another day. But for all you NFL players out there, we know Bernie's not getting into the total nuts and bolts of a play. But for the fan out there, we're going to break down a couple of key plays from that 1986 Cleveland Browns Pittsburgh Steelers game. So why don't we roll the plays? First, this is the play to Ozzie Newsome.
You know, and we picked up these plays, one, obviously, because it's Steeler week and the excitement and correlation to what we have and we want to have happen on Thursday night here in Brown Stadium and stuff. But also because that was a play in 1986. But yet some of the schemes that are happening defensively out in the NFL and in college are absolutely still transpiring and happening today. So even though it seems like 40 years ago, some of the things that work today or worked back then still work today, and some of the core principles of that. So back in the old days, for a team like us that was two backs, like we saw with our Cleveland Browns, the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt dynamic duo that we have happening. We had the same thing back in the 80s with Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner, Eric Metcalf, Leroy Horde. We had a really good plethora of running backs and stuff. So teams like today, like we're going to be seeing with our Cleveland Browns of today, wanted to stack the box. Very similar back in the old days against us. They would stack the box, and there was a back in the 85 Bears won the Super Bowl with the 46 Bear defense. So that was kind of the rage back in the early mid 80s from Buddy Ryan. That principles of that defense are absolutely still being used today, and absolutely being used actually a little bit more so today in terms of the press coverage and bump coverage on top of the receivers. So even back then, if you want to run that play a little bit, you'll see Ozzie Newsome has well, this is a tight angle here. It'll maybe a little better from the top level. But through the course of the week, these are 8-man fronts. And when Ozzie Newsome had two linebackers on him, it was Mike Merriweather and Brian Hinkle. I still remember 53 and 57. I didn't tell them this when we were playing, but they were two awesome players. But the smack talk wasn't. I didn't want to give them compliments like that. But on through the whole course of the week of preparation, I would see that formation, and Brian Hinkle, 53. Anytime the tight end blocked, and we didn't have a ton of that because Ozzie Newsome was such an amazing route runner that you wanted to get Ozzie out into the pass play, so you didn't really leave him in to block. But I noticed in the Steeler preparation that when the tight end did block, given that defense, that if the tight end blocked, the guy responsible for blocking him, the linebacker 53, would check, delay, and blitz, and he'd wipe out the quarterback. So I kind of have that.
Yeah,
I kind of drew that up here. So in this Bear defense, you'll have your 34. You have your 3 down linemen. On that formation, you'll have Brian Hinkle, the 2 backers right here, and the third linebacker head up over your center because he's got man coverage on your running back, which is Kevin Mack. Safeties are kick left. So when the tight end settles back to block, 57 comes. When Ozzie settles back to block, Brian Hinkle comes right through. So he settles, fakes like he's going to block. He releases right up the field. And when you run that play, when you run that back through, you'll see Brian Hinkle getting in my face, but nobody there because I tricked a formation with a heavy left. So I have our 2 backs head up to weak side. That brings the weak safety down to this side. The Donnie Shell, Hall of Famer, amazing player, brings him to the middle of the field. That leaves, and I'm not trying to show off the logo for the Bernie Kosar show with Hanford Dixon, but that leaves that whole void there for a perfect logo, for a perfect picture, because nobody's there except the great Ozzie Newsome.
So, Bernie, when you go out and you got that play called, you line up, you see the defense. Do you know it's going to work right there?
Well, no. First, I don't have that play called. I have something completely irrelevant called.
So how do you change it?
So when I see that defense is the defense that they're in, I subtly, quickly change it. Because originally on this play, we had Kevin Mack over to this side. So
you
50 was over here in his pre-snap alignment, right ultimately where I wanted Ozzie to be, on another play that was designed to run right into the strength of the defense where they have the extra guys here. So I just move with an audible. I just move Kevin from here to here. And then instead of stepping this way, I have Kevin check and block this way to block the guy off the corner. That sends number 50 to the left, which opens up the void for Ozzie with the safety going to the top, the weak safety going this way. This was stealing. So
yeah, and I don't know if that play actually shows it, but Kevin Mack throws a great block on that defender coming around the end.
And what I really love about this was, besides it worked, it got us a touchdown. Ozzie Newsome's streak was kept intact of consecutive games of catching plays and stuff, but that was early in the first half of the game. And Dave, I don't know if you want to kind of swing to the second play, but the exact same situation comes up in overtime. And you can see from this view a little better
Good
how
block again.
The tight end Ozzie has 53 Brian Hinkle on him, 57 Mike Merriweather to the outside of him, which is amazing. I can't remember what I did 2 days ago, but I can remember those guys like it's clockwork. So I audible to that, anticipating that I'm going to do the exact same thing I did in the first half, and I tried to do this audible a little quieter and a little subtler, like I wasn't audibling, but the Steelers, as much as I hate to admit it, besides awesomely talented, they're an awesomely coached, intelligent team. So I went to the well one too many times. They figured out that I'm doing. Look at Brian Hinkle. He sees Ozzie settle, but this time he doesn't take the cheese. He doesn't come. He stays on him. I'm like, oh, God, I'm screwed. So that pump wasn't on purpose. That was, oh, my God, Brian Hinkle, you got me there, brother. But I had checked beforehand, and just to the details of the assignment, trying to make sure that nothing could go wrong and to minimizing the chances of a mistake. I wanted to make sure that I had an insurance policy, and I looked to my left. They had the great Hall of Famer Rod Woodson to the right. there was a cornerback to the left. I'm not saying this to be mean nor to be funny, but somebody was hurt, and the new cornerback in there, I didn't even know his name. So in the NFL, if you don't know the guy's name, you throw on his ass immediately. So when they figured out to play like that, I had slipped Webster. I didn't have time to rechange the play to check my audible to their audible. So you've heard us talk about this on the air a little bit, but off the air a lot. I could actually talk with my receivers without using words, with just eye contact and or signals. So all of mine, I wore this shirt last week, The Rock on it. All of my receivers, whether it's the University of Miami or the Cleveland Browns, know that if you get The Rock, okay, you are getting a fade. And what we were talking about releases versus press coverage, thou will get open when you get The Rock. And I was able to slip that to Webster to make that throw to win the game and close them out.
You know, one quick point here before we leave this. You talk about the great Rod Woodson. As a fan, we worried about that guy, but tell us, Bernie, he never got you, did he?
Okay. As a ex-quarterback, as a quarterback who went against the great Rod Woodson, played him twice in college. He was the University of Purdue, at the University of Miami. And then for him to come to the Steelers and to have those games that we had against him. He's an All-American, Hall of Famer, amazing player, amazing friend. And I never let him know that I thought about him, focused on him all the time, to the point where proudly he never got an interception from me and our team. And that was something that his greatness and his ability actually made us better, made me better, because I was able to come up with some really cool concepts of route running, because Rod was such an amazing player that it wasn't being run much in the league back then, but you see it a lot today. Double moves, stutter takeoffs to get him to bite and try to get something over his head. And then he was so good and so smart that just stutter takeoffs, double moves weren't good, that we'd come up with extra plays like double moves to where you did double stutter takeoff comebacks, because he was so great. And that was something that I'm really proud to have been able to handle.
Bernie, you won again in overtime. You're a winner with us. Break us down and take us out.
Take us out on Steeler Week. Going to be 2-1. You matter. Go